A thug shoves an old lady on a crowded subway, her books and tea spilling across the floor. People freeze, heads down, phones up, but no one moves. Then a guy in a black coat steps forward. It's Keanu Reeves, quiet, unshaken, his hair tied back like he just walked off a movie set. He tells the punk, "Pick it up," calm as steel. The thug laughs, mocks him, until Keanu's not joking anymore. Another guy pulls a knife, but Keanu's faster, disarming him like it's nothing. Whispers spread. "That's John Wick." Chaos erupts when a mystery man with a gun calls it revenge. Keanu doesn't flinch, just talks him down, raw and real. Cops swoop in, but Keanu's already gone, leaving the train buzzing. Subscribe if you're hooked. This one's wild. The subway car hummed with tension after the thug shoved the old lady. Her books and tea hit the floor and the crowd stayed silent, too scared or too numb to care. Keanu Reeves stood at the back, unnoticed at first, just another guy in a long black coat. His hair was tied back, a few strands loose, framing a face that carried more than most knew. He'd been watching, not moving, his hand resting light on the overhead bar. The thug's voice cut through, loud and cocky. "Stay out of my space, hag." Keanu's eyes narrowed, but he didn't rush in. That wasn't his way. He took a step forward, boots quiet on the steel floor. The thug didn't see him yet, too busy grinning at his own power. Keanu's presence wasn't loud. It never had to be. He'd spent years dodging fame, living simple, but here, something shifted. The old lady clutched her bag, eyes down, and that hit him somewhere deep. He knew loss, knew what it felt like to have nothing left to hold on to. This wasn't about him. But he couldn't just stand there. "Pick it up," he said, voice low, steady. The thug spun around, sizing him up. "Who the hell are you?" Keanu didn't answer with words. He bent down, slow and deliberate, grabbing the spilled tea box. His fingers brushed the scratched lid. Someone's small piece of normal, now trashed. He handed it to her, meeting her gaze for a second. "You okay?" She nodded, barely, but it was enough. The thug laughed, sharp and fake. "What, her bodyguard? Get lost, man." Keanu straightened, turning to face him. Up close, the guy was taller, broader, but Keanu didn't blink. He'd trained for worse. Years of stunt work, fight scenes, real pain. This wasn't a movie, though. No script, no cuts. Just a choice. "I said pick it up," he repeated, calm but firm, like he was asking for the check at a diner. The thug stepped closer, chest puffed, testing him. Keanu didn't budge. He'd faced bigger threats, lost more than this punk could imagine. Sister to cancer, a child stillborn, love gone too soon. That weight sat in his bones, not his fists. He wasn't here to prove anything, just to fix what was wrong. The air tightened, passengers shifting, sensing something brewing. Keanu's hands stayed loose at his side, but his stare locked on. The thug smirked, oblivious to who he was messing with. Keanu wasn't a hero in his own mind. He never thought that way. But right now, he was the only one moving toward the fight, not away. The subway lurched hard as it hit a curve, a jolt that threw everyone off balance. The old lady grabbed the pole to steady herself, her frail hand brushing the thug's shoulder. He shot up like she'd burned him, eyes wild. "Don't touch me, you old hag," he roared, voice bouncing off the metal walls. Then he shoved her, 2 hands, full force. She stumbled back, hitting the floor with a soft thud, her canvas bag spilling open. Books slid out, pages flapping like broken wings, and the tea box rolled under a seat. She reached for it, fingers trembling, but didn't make a sound. The crowd went dead quiet. Eyes darted to her, then away, quick, cowardly glances. A young girl in a hoodie lifted her phone, thumb hovering over the screen, but dropped it back to her lap. No one moved, no one spoke. The thug sneered, kicking the tea box farther with a scuff of his sneaker. "Old people should stay home," he spat, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Stop bothering the rest of us." He flexed his shoulders, owning the moment, feeding off the silence like it was applause. Keanu Reeves watched it all from the back of the car, his head lifted slow, deliberate, like a man waking from a long dream. His hand stayed on the bar, knuckles white but steady. He didn't rush in, never did. That wasn't who he was. His eyes, deep and dark, locked on the scene, taking it in. Not anger yet, but something colder, sharper, rising like a tide. He saw her on the floor, saw the way she curled inward, protecting what little she had left. It cut him deeper than he'd admit, reminded him of his mom, aging alone, or the sister he couldn't save. Loss was an old friend to Keanu, and this was loss in motion. The thug didn't notice him yet, too busy playing king. He stomped on one of her books, grinding the heel of his shoe into the cover. "Oops," he mocked, grinning at the crowd. "Guess she won't be reading that." A few passengers flinched, but their lips stayed sealed. Keanu's jaw tightened. He'd seen bullies before. On sets, in life. Guys who thought loud meant strong. He hated it then, hated it now. But this wasn't about him. It was about her. The way she didn't cry. Didn't beg, just reached for her things like they were all she had left to hold on to. He took a breath, slow and deep, the kind he'd learned after years of grief, when his daughter didn't make it, when his love slipped away. That breath kept him grounded. His coat shifted as he straightened, the leather creaking faintly. The thug still hadn't clocked him, but Keanu's focus was absolute. He wasn't here to fight, not yet. He was here to see, really see, what this guy would do next, because that's who Keanu was, the guy who waited, who felt everything, and only moved when it mattered. And right now, with her on the floor and the tee box spinning to a stop against his boot, it was starting to matter a whole lot. Keanu Reeves didn't wait for the thug to finish his show. He moved forward, steps steady, cutting through the packed subway car like a shadow. No shoving, no noise, just purpose. He passed a mom clutching her kid, the boy's wide eyes peeking over her shoulder. Then a guy with glasses, nose buried in a book, pretending the world wasn't falling apart. A girl live-streaming her day twitched her phone toward him, but didn't look up. They didn't see him. Not yet. Keanu stopped a few feet from the thug, close enough to smell the guy's cheap cologne. The old lady was still on the floor, one hand braced against the steel, the other clutching a torn book. Keanu's voice came low, steady, cutting through the hum of the train. "Pick it up for her." The thug froze mid-laugh, head whipping around. His grin stretched wide, fake and loud, like he was auditioning for a crowd. "Who's this guy?" he barked, spinning to face the passengers, arms flung out. "Thinks he's some Hollywood hotshot?" He didn't know, couldn't know, who Keanu really was. The irony hung thick, a secret only the audience held for now. He leaned in, voice dripping with mockery, doing a bad action movie drawl. "What, I'm John Wick? You scared yet, old man?" Then he shoved Keanu's shoulder, hard, testing him, daring him to break. Keanu didn't swing back. He didn't even flinch. He stepped back half a pace, just enough to steady himself, his eyes locked on the thug's. That look wasn't anger. It was something heavier, older, carved from years of carrying pain most people never see. He'd lost too much. His baby girl, his partner, his peace, to waste energy on pride. This wasn't about him. He glanced down at the old lady, her fingers trembling as she reached for a tea box, now dented and scuffed. That's what got him. The quiet way she fought to hold on. He knew that fight. He'd lived it. He bent down, slow and smooth, ignoring the thug's glare. His coat brushed the floor as he picked up the tea box, its lid cracked but still whole. He turned it over in his hands, feeling the weight of someone's small, fragile normal. Then he stepped past the thug, didn't even look at him, and crouched beside her. "Careful," he said, soft as a whisper, pressing the box into her hands. Her fingers brushed his, cold and shaky, but she nodded. That tiny gesture hit him square in the chest, a pang of something he couldn't name. Gratitude, maybe, or just recognition. She reminded him of his mom, the way she'd soldiered on after everything fell apart. The thug's laugh cracked the air again, sharper now, edged with fury. "What, you're her babysitter now? Get out of my face!" He shoved Keanu's shoulder again, harder, trying to reclaim control. Keanu stood, slow as rising water, and turned to face him. The crowd shifted, heads lifted, phones tilted, a ripple of attention spreading. They saw it now. The guy in the black coat wasn't just some bystander. He didn't yell, didn't posture. He just stood there, 6 feet of quiet, his stare cutting deeper than any fist. The thug's smirk faltered for a split second, sensing something he couldn't place. Keanu didn't need to prove anything, he never had. But the air around him said it clear. He wasn't backing down. Not for her, not for this. And that's when the subway car started to feel a little smaller, a little heavier, like everyone knew something was about to give. The subway car trembled as the thug's second shove lingered in the air, his smirk twitching with irritation. Keanu Reeves stood firm, the old lady behind him still clutching her tea box, her breath shallow but steady. He didn't flinch, didn't need to. Then a shadow loomed from the middle of the car, a bigger guy, broader, pushed up from his seat, leather jacket creaking as he moved. Tattoos snaked up his neck, dark ink curling like veins. He was the thug's backup, his growl cutting through the hum of the train. "You want to die, old man?" He stepped closer, boots thudding, and pulled a switchblade from his pocket. The blade flicked out, catching the dim light in a quick, cold flash. The crowd gasped, a sharp collective intake. People shuffled back, pressing against seats and walls, eyes wide. A few phones jerked up, shaky hands recording, but no one dared speak. Keanu turned slow, deliberate, putting himself between the old lady and this new threat. His face didn't change. Calm, almost too calm, but his eyes sharpened, cutting through the chaos like a blade of their own. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. Silence was his weapon, honed over years of keeping his pain private. Losing his daughter before she could breathe, watching his sister fade, burying love too soon. This wasn't fear in front of him, this was just noise. The tattooed guy sneered, gripping the knife tighter, and lunged, fast, sloppy, aiming for Keanu's chest. The old lady let out a small, choked sound, her hand gripping his coat from behind. Keanu moved smooth, not flashy. He tilted his body, letting the blade slice air, and snapped his arm up. The sleeve of his black coat whipped around the guy's wrist, fabric twisting tight. One quick pull, and he locked the thug's arm in place. It was clean, precise, like he'd done it 100 times, because he had. Years training for John Wick, hours with stuntmen and guns had carved that muscle memory deep. The guy yelped, a raw, startled cry, and the knife clattered to the floor. Keanu didn't stop to gloat. He shoved, just enough, sending the thug stumbling back into a seat. The guy's bulk hit the plastic hard, breath whooshing out. Keanu stepped forward, boot nudging the fallen blade. One firm kick, and it skittered across the steel floor, disappearing under a row of seats. The crowd exhaled, a shaky ripple of relief, but the air stayed thick. Phones trembled in hands, capturing every second. The first thug, still hovering nearby, blinked hard, his bravado cracking. "Yo, you see that?" he muttered, half to himself, half to no one. Keanu didn't look at him. He turned back to the old lady, crouching low again. "You hurt?" he asked, voice soft but steady, like he was checking on a friend. She shook her head, lips tight, eyes glistening. "I'm fine," she whispered, but her hands shook as she pulled her bag closer. That tremble hit Keanu like a punch. Quiet courage, the kind he'd seen in his mom, in himself, after everything broke. He nodded, resting a hand on her shoulder for a moment, then stood. The weight of her trust settled into him, heavy but familiar. The tattooed guy groaned, hauling himself up, pride bruised more than his body. "You're dead," he hissed, but it sounded hollow. Keanu faced him again, stance loose, hands at his sides. He didn't need to flex, didn't want to. This wasn't about winning, it was about her, about the line he wouldn't let them cross. The first thug shifted, nervous now, glancing between his friend and this stranger who didn't yell, didn't swing, but somehow owned the room. The crowd felt it too. Something bigger than a fight was unfolding. Keanu's calm wasn't weakness. It was a wall, built from scars they couldn't see. And as the train rattled on, that wall wasn't moving. Not for them. Not for anyone. The subway car buzzed with a tense electric hush after Keanu sent the tattooed thug sprawling. The knife was gone, kicked out of reach, and the old lady clung to her bag, safe behind him. Keanu stood tall, coat swaying slightly, his breath even despite the chaos. The first thug, the loudmouth who'd started it all, snapped out of his daze, face twisting with rage. "Who the hell are you to touch my boy?" he yelled, voice cracking as he jabbed a finger at Keanu. He stepped forward, fists clenched, still blind to who he was facing. The crowd held its breath, phones trembling in sweaty hands. Then it happened. A girl near the back, maybe 20, fumbled with her phone, thumbs flying across the screen. Her eyes widened and she whispered, barely audible, "Oh my God, that's Keanu Reeves." The words hit like a spark in dry grass, heads turned, whispers ignited, racing through the car. "Keanu Reeves? No way! That's him," a kid in a baseball cap, barely 12, blurted out. "John Wick's real!" His voice cut through, high and awed, and the whole train seemed to jolt. Not from the tracks, but from the realization. An older woman near the doors muttered, "I knew he was kind, but this..." Her voice trailed off, thick with something like pride. Keanu didn't react to the buzz. He didn't hear it, or didn't care. His focus stayed on the thug, eyes steady, unyielding. The guy scoffed, shaking his head. "What, you some movie star now?" "I don't buy it." He didn't believe it, couldn't. Because Keanu didn't look the part here, no flashy suit, no entourage, just a guy in a worn coat who'd rather ride the subway than a limo. But that was Keanu. The man who'd given away millions, who sat alone on park benches, who carried grief like a The thug didn't see that. He saw a target, he swung, a wild, angry fist aimed at Keanu's jaw. Keanu moved smooth, almost gentle. He leaned back, letting the punch sail past, then grabbed the guy's collar with one hand. A quick tug, a shift of weight, and he pinned him to the floor. Not hard, just firm, like calming a kid mid-tantrum. The thug hit the steel with a grunt, eyes wide, pinned under Keanu's grip. "I don't want to hurt you," Keanu said, voice low, gravelly, every word deliberate. "Don't make me." It wasn't a threat. It was a plea, raw and real, straight from the guy who'd spent years dodging fights, not starting them. The crowd felt it. His calm wasn't fake. It was him. The thug squirmed, face red, but he couldn't break free. Keanu held him there, not to punish, but to stop. That was Keanu's way. Humility over ego, peace over chaos. He'd lost too much to care about winning. His daughter, stillborn, his sister, gone to cancer, his love taken too soon. Violence wasn't his answer. It never had been. But protecting her, the old lady with her tea and books, that was worth standing for. He glanced back at her, checking, and she nodded, small but sure. That nod fueled him more than any applause. The crowd wasn't quiet anymore. Whispers turned to murmurs, then voices. "That's really him," a guy in a hoodie said, phone forgotten in his hand. "He's not even mad," a woman added, awe softening her tone. The kid in the cap stared, mouth open, like he'd just met a legend, and he had, but not the one from the screen. This was Keanu the man, not the myth, the guy who'd rather help than hurt. The thug on the floor cursed, thrashing once more, but it was weaker now. "Get off me," he spat, voice hollow. Keanu let go, stepping back, hands loose at his sides. He didn't loom, didn't gloat, just watched, ready but still. The crowd shifted closer, drawn in, phones up but quieter now, like they were witnessing something sacred. The older woman wiped her eyes, muttering, "Bless him." The thug scrambled up, chest heaving, pride in tatters. He didn't swing again, not yet. Keanu's calm had cracked something in him, and the car felt it too. This wasn't over, but it was different now. They all knew who he was and what he stood for. The subway car simmered with a strange, charged stillness after Keanu let the thug go. The guy scrambled to his feet, pride bruised, muttering curses under his breath. The tattooed friend slumped in his seat, rubbing his wrist, defeated. The old lady sat upright now, her tea box cradled in her lap, eyes fixed on Keanu with quiet gratitude. The crowd buzzed, phones still up, voices low but alive with awe. "That's Keanu Reeves," they whispered, like saying it made it real. He stood there, coat loose around him, hands at his sides, catching his breath. It felt done, like the storm had passed, but it hadn't. A slow clap broke the hush, sharp and deliberate, echoing off the steel walls, heads turned. A man stood up from the far corner, middle-aged, gray suit crisp but creased at the elbows. His hair was thinning, slicked back, and his smile was thin, cruel. "Well done, Reeves," he said, voice smooth but venomous. "What, you think you're some kind of hero?" He stepped forward, hands slipping from his pockets, and pulled out a snub-nosed pistol. The barrel glinted as he aimed it straight at Keanu's chest. The crowd gasped, a jagged wave of panic rippling through. People ducked, phones dropped, a kid whimpered. Keanu froze, but only for a heartbeat. His eyes locked on the man, steady, searching. The guy's grin widened. "You don't even remember me, do you?" he sneered. "Name's Carver. Used to run product out of LA. Big money, big life. Till your buddy from Speed screwed me over. Cost me everything, my crew, my cash, my name. Took me years to crawl back, and now here you are playing saint." His finger tightened on the trigger. "This ain't your movie set, Reeves. This is payback." The crowd shrank back, some scrambling for the doors, others too stunned to move. Keanu didn't flinch. He raised a hand, palm out, slow and calm, a signal to hold steady. His voice came soft, almost fragile, cutting through the chaos. "I don't know you," he said, eyes never leaving Carver's. "But I know you don't want to do this." There was a tremble in his tone, faint but real, like a crack in stone. It wasn't fear, it was something deeper, older. The sound of a man who'd buried too much, his stillborn daughter, his sister's slow fade, the love he couldn't save. That pain lived in him, raw and close, and it spilled out now, quiet but heavy. "You pull that trigger, it's not me you hurt, it's you." Carver faltered just for a second, his smirk twitching. "Don't play me," he snapped, but his voice shook. Keanu took a step closer. Not aggressive, just present. "I've lost people," he said, softer now. "More than you'd guess. It doesn't fix anything, it just takes more." His words hung there, simple ascendant, a confession, stripped bare for the world to see. The crowd felt it, felt him, and it hit them hard. The old lady's hands tightened on her bag, eyes wet. The kid in the cap stared, wide-eyed, like he was seeing a ghost. Carver's gun wavered, sweat beading on his brow. "Shut up," he barked, but it sounded desperate. Keanu didn't push, just stood there, unguarded, open. "You don't need this," he said, voice steady again. "You can walk away." It was simple, honest, a lifeline tossed to a drowning man. Carver's eyes darted, wild, trapped. The crowd held its breath, the air thick with dread. Then, a blur from behind, a passenger, a wiry guy in a denim jacket, lunged. He grabbed Carver's arm, twisting it up and back. The gun clattered to the floor with a dull thud. Carver grunted, thrashing, but the guy pinned him fast, knee in his back. "Police!" he shouted, flashing a badge from his pocket. "Stay down!" The crowd erupted, gasps, cries. A shaky cheer, phones swiveled, catching it all. Keanu didn't wait. He turned, crouching beside the old lady. "You okay?" he asked, gentle, like nothing had happened. She nodded, tears spilling now. "Thank you," she whispered, voice breaking. He offered a small, tired smile. Pure Keanu, no ego, just relief. He slid an arm under hers, helping her up, steady and sure. The doors hissed open, spilling light into the car. He guided her out, slow, careful, her weight leaning into him. The crowd parted, silent, reverent, watching them go. Carver lay cuffed on the floor, the cop barking orders. The thug and his friend sat slumped, heads down, beaten. The kid in the cap clutched his mom, whispering, "That was him, right?" She nodded, eyes glassy. "Yeah, baby, that was him." The older woman wiped her face, muttering, "God bless that man." The air shifted, lighter, but heavy with what they'd seen. Keanu didn't look back. He stepped onto the platform, the old lady beside him, and the doors slid shut. Inside, the car buzzed, people talking, replaying it. But out there, he was just a guy in a coat, fading into the world again. The subway screeched to a stop, brakes hissing as the doors slid open at the next station. Keanu Reeves stepped out, guiding the old lady with a gentle hand under her elbow. Light spilled onto the platform, catching his face. Tired lines etched deeper now, but his eyes still calm, steady. His black coat hung loose, swaying as he moved, and his hair, tied back, gleamed faintly in the glow. He handed her the canvas bag, its edges frayed but intact. "Take care of yourself," he said, voice soft, warm, like a promise he meant to keep. She looked up, eyes bright with unshed tears, and nodded. "You too," she whispered, clutching the bag tight. He gave her a small, worn smile, pure Keanu, no flash, just heart, and turned to go. Inside the car, the air buzzed. Phones stayed up, shaky hands still filming as the doors closed. The crowd couldn't stop talking, voices overlapping in a low hum. "That was Keanu Reeves," a guy in a hoodie said, shaking his head like he still didn't believe it. The kid in the cap tugged his mom's sleeve, eyes huge. "He's a hero, Mom, like for real." She hugged him close, nodding, too choked up to answer. Across the aisle, the cop tightened cuffs on Carver the thug and his tattooed friend, their heads bowed, defiance gone. The first thug sat silent, wrists bound, staring at the floor where he'd lost everything he thought he owned. A woman near the back, gray scarf loose around her neck, leaned toward her friend. "He didn't have to do that," she murmured, voice thick. "He's already famous, doesn't need more," but he still stood up. Her friend nodded, wiping her eyes. "That's who he is." The words hung there, simple but heavy, echoing what they all felt. Keanu wasn't a legend because of movies. He was a man who moved when no one else would, who carried pain but never let it win. The car rocked as it pulled away, leaving the platform behind, but his shadow lingered in every whisper, every replayed clip. Keanu walked off, steps slow but sure, melting into the crowd beyond the station. People rushed past, heads down, lost in their own worlds, none knowing what he'd just done. He didn't look back, didn't linger for thanks. That wasn't him. He'd vanish like always, into a coffee shop maybe, or a quiet corner to breathe, gone before anyone could chase him down. But for those on that train, it wasn't just a ride anymore. It was the day they saw a guy stand tall, not for fame, not for glory, but because it was right. And as he faded into the city, they'd carry that moment, raw, real, unshakable. Long after the doors shut and the world moved on. What hits me hardest about Keanu's story isn't the action, it's the why. He didn't need to step up. He's already a star, already loved, but he did, because that's who he is. A guy who's felt loss so deep it could have broken him, yet he still chooses kindness over chaos. Some might say he's just playing a role, that real life doesn't need heroes like that. I disagree. In a world quick to judge, quick to fight, Keanu's quiet stand feels like a rebellion worth rooting for. What do you think? Hero or just a guy in the right place? Drop your take below. I'd love to hear it. Huge thanks for watching this one. It means a lot. If it moved you, hit subscribe, share it, and stick around. We've got more stories coming your way. See you next time.